beautiful day here. I hope you all stay here. We're going to be here till about 7 o'clock at night. There'll be lots of music for you, bands from Bloomsburg and local bands, and George Wesley, I'm sure you guys have heard of him. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. The first speaker to come out is going to be Carl Romanelli. He is a 2006 candidate for U.S. Senate. He is a past director and board member of PA NORML. He's a contributing writer to Ladybug magazine and Wilkes-Barre Scranton Independent Gazette. If you guys have never heard of Independent Gazette, it's a great publication. Go out and look for it. And yeah, generally he writes for a lot of publications. If you have never read his publications, you ought to read it. It's the only literature out there in the mainstream press in the local area that makes sense. So everybody give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks, folks. We're here today at this historic cannabis rally to celebrate and educate regarding cannabis and to demand our natural Bill of Rights, so to speak. So I hope that everyone not only has a good time here today, but understands there's a lot of work that we have to do together to change the archaic and punitive laws as they exist now, and to fix the world and our country and our backyard from these dark, dark days. Now, I'll be talking more along those lines a little bit later, but one thing that I want you all to think about from now until then is these issues of our time, whether it be the quality of our food, or issues of war and peace, or economy, crime and punishment, cannabis and drug war issues. These issues are all related. And in understanding that, I think it'll make it clearer the direction we can move together. And that's the second part of what I want folks to think about is together. No matter how powerful a speech, no matter how powerful a piece of writing, the real revolution and change, if it's going to come, is going to come from the collective power of people working together. It's time we come together and talk to one another and work together to stop this machine that has been oppressing us and that has been ruining not only our lives, but the lives of so many around the world. We can't do it alone. We can only do it together. And to do it together, it doesn't mean that each and every one of us need to think exactly alike. On the contrary, our diversity is our strength, and bringing all ideas to the table, make sure the best ones are the ones that survive. But don't sell yourself short, no matter how powerful the enemies of freedom and peace and justice are, because they cannot run without us. We together have a lot of power in not only our votes, not only the way we use our labor, but the way we spend our money and the things we cooperate with or don't cooperate with. If we understand our power as consumers, as taxpayers, as voters, and as workers, we could change things. We could bring our share to the fore. And just as important as changing cannabis laws is changing the way we look at drugs in general. The entire drug war needs to end now. And that's related directly to the problems we see on the nightly news every day regarding crime and instability in our neighborhoods. It's not a problem of Philadelphia and New York people coming here. It is not a problem of color. It is not a problem of class. It is a problem of a war on drugs that funds cartels and organized crime and makes it profitable for them to come here and supply the local population with its drugs. The people who are trying to manage opiate addictions with street drugs because they've been cut off from the Oxycontin their doctors gave them. And it's horrible. and it needs to end. And the first place to make that end is by ending cannabis prohibition. And to that, I want to say to all of the world, and in particular the United States of America, thank you, cannabis culture, because considering the number of cannabis users in this country and the trade in it, and yeah, the gangs have a little bit of it, but you don't see the same kind of violence and carnage that you see in cannabis trade and in cannabis culture, because it's a loving plant, it's a loving culture, and we would be in a lot worse shape if it wasn't for that peaceful and loving culture. So now I'm saying preserve all of that, but it's time we get defiant. It's time we take it back. Remember, justice is a demand. It is not a hope. Let us demand it. Let us have it. There's a way to do this, and we can do it together. Thank you.
Everybody, there's a bill out there. Senate Bill 528. We are taking signatures in the back. We only have 2,000 signatures or 3,000 signatures away from finishing it, sending it to Governor Wolf, letting him know that we want this to end. The drug war's got to end, especially with marijuana. Prohibition. It's ridiculous. The word marijuana itself comes from racism, deep racism. It's still instilled in everything we can't figure out. We get rid of this cannabis prohibition, a lot of racism dies. Our jails get freed up. It's sick. I know a lot of people who will not come out today because they are of color. They're afraid. Well, we're gonna be the voice of the voiceless. Everybody who's out here right now is standing and representing about 100 people behind them. We all know somebody in our family who uses medicine. They use it for straight getting through life. You know, and there's no problem with that. We're here to show you that there is no problem with that. So we are taking names for the petition. If you would like to go back there and sign your name to it, that'd be appreciated. That way we can get this done. Next band to come up is a one-man band. He's Tony. He's homegrown. He's awesome. So let's give him a round of applause. The next band gets in here, but I'm going to fill the volume here for a little bit. I'm a new activist. I've been doing this for a while. I've been teaching people how to grow. You know, grow your own. There's no reason for you to go out there and be beholden to other countries.
All right, everybody, happy spring. God bless all the activists in this world. My name is Kurt Shotko, and welcome to the Northeast Pennsylvania Cannabis Rally. You're doing some very sacred fun right now. This is a magical time for people who care about the future of this world, and the war on cannabis is a very serious issue for how things go in the future. My name is Kurt Shotko. I ran for U.S. House of Representatives as a Green Party candidate, and previous speaker Carl Romanelli ran for Senate at that time. But we want you to get more active and more involved in your government, because you can change this world by making a phone call, by signing a petition, by registering to vote, because we're never going to change this world unless you become serious about participating in our country. I started an organization called the Common Sense Revival, and we're promoting critical thinking and positive psychology, help people get their heads screwed on straight and their hearts in the right place so you can go and confront what looks to me like evil, because the war on cannabis is a war of big business against family farmers. It's a war of growing your own medicine versus going to Big Pharma and taking some of their very dangerous pills and stuff. So cannabis is an amazing plant that has
200 plus diseases scientifically known to have.
All right, 200 plus diseases scientifically proven to be treated by cannabis. And it is also an amazing food oil. So we have a plant that does not contain THC, for example, that can be used to replace a very toxic industry of cotton in this country. Right here, for 1 acre of hemp, you're going to get 2 to 3 acres of same for cotton and the same for trees. So we have a multifold increasing in our efficiency and our sustainability for this planet, because we want to hand something down to the future. And cannabis and industrial hemp is one of those ingredients that involves not only treating our mental stress, and I want to tell you right now, everybody who becomes a cannabis activist, we're doing it for our soldiers who have PTSD, who have had a lot of serious damage to them, and cannabis is an amazing medicine for them. They will be dramatically helped. Right now, today, Sanjay Gupta is going to have the president on saying he believes in national medical access. So again, just whenever you call your representative, which I'm again encouraging you to make a phone call, write a letter, and it doesn't take much time, donate an hour a week towards making this country better, and say, you know, I'm here on behalf of our veterans who are struggling with suicide and depression. So anyway, just a quick historical notes. We have to recognize that it appears that cannabis is what is in the anointing oil of the Bible. And do your own research on that. It was called cannabasum in Hebrew, and that is what would make a Jewish priest or king. And it also appears that Jesus was remaking that recipe and sharing it with everyone who wanted to be anointed and thus become a Christian. So it has an entheogenic property, cannabis does. And that is documented throughout many cultures, including the Scythians, which, if you haven't heard of who they are, they're the ones that shared cannabis with Moses. The Scythians are archaeologically documented to have used cannabis, and they spread it from the Asia area all the way out to Europe and the Middle East. So anyway, again, encouraging you to take heart. We are in a very amazing time in American history, and each one of you, if you get involved and start, don't be afraid, you know, to share these ideas, because science is on our side. The government has been lying about cannabis since the mid-30s, certainly, and just so you know, why is cannabis illegal? Because many government studies have proven it is not a dangerous drug. In fact, a recent study said it is, alcohol is by far the most dangerous drug. So anyway, we got some great artists coming up here. I'm going to wrap this up a little bit. Okay, all right, we got some more time. I tend to go on because I'm a social activist protester. So here we have a quote from Bob Marley. Herb is the healing of a nation. Alcohol is destruction. So we need this herb to reduce our overdose rate, which, by the way, it is documented that states that have medical cannabis have or have dramatically reduced by 40% the overdose rate in those communities. And opiate use and overdose is a very serious issue in our area. So look at it as that. When you become an activist for cannabis, you're trying to address the organized crime problem, the violence in our streets, which is caused by gangsterism and the drug war. These things are all related together, and cannabis is one of those gateway issues, which, by the way, if you don't know it or not, cannabis is a Schedule I substance, which means it is in the same legal category as heroin. And obviously that is a complete lie. And you know, the Greeks had the boy that cried wolf story. Well, the government is crying wolf about cannabis, and I think they're losing their message about heroin, methamphetamine, and other drugs because they're comparing cannabis to those drugs, and it's just not, that's not reality. So I want to close with an amazing quote by Carl Sagan. I got two quotes. One by Bob Marley, who you probably all know who he is. Amazing artist and activist. When you use herb, it reveals you to yourself. And that self-awareness is one of the dangers of cannabis, according to the authority. The authorities don't want us to think for ourselves. And cannabis has that power of creating a self-awareness and something to really explore why is cannabis illegal and what makes people actually start to listen to their own hearts and not to the authoritarian structure. And that is very threatening to how our society is run and structured. So this is a revolutionary effort of personal empowerment, you know. So we got a struggle of big business versus family farms and the hemp, and we also have a struggle of consciousness where you have a liberty and justice for all versus what appears to be fascism. So if we all become activists, we can create that sense of liberty and justice for all, which has not happened so far, I don't think, since the founding of our nation. So anyway, Carl Sagan, if you don't know who he is a passed on now, but he was awarded 2 doctoral degrees, was an amazing writer, science, astronomer, space scientist. And I, until recently, did not know that he was a cannabis activist. So when you become a cannabis activist, you join many amazing and powerful people who are lifting their hearts together to fix this world. All right, Carl Sagan. The illegality of cannabis is outrageous. It's an impediment of full utilization of a drug which helps produce the serenity and insight, sensitivity and fellowship so desperately needed in this increasingly mad and dangerous world. So have a great day, everybody. Take care of each other. Sign those petitions. Get active. God bless. Thanks, guys.
All right, NEPA Cannabis Rally. Our next speaker, she's a big one. She's been doing a lot of work for you. While you all been sleeping in your bed at night, she's worrying about you. She's worried about these gas companies that are running you over. You just don't know it.
Crack up.
Hemp is its enemy, okay? Hemp is no different than the stuff you guys smoke. It's just a little bit different. It's like a cousin. Hemp could take it out. Hemp is a big energy nightmare for this company. You know, these companies that run her over, Cabot right now has her tied up in courts. Tied up. She can't go anywhere. She's banned. I think she's banned within 100 feet, is it? Of anywhere where Cabot has anybody signed up. You know, it's absolute bullshit. We need to come out here and we need to, you know, if none of you guys know her, you need to know her. That's why I need Carl to come up here right now and have an introduce her to you. I mean, it's absolute bullshit.
No fracking way!
It is. It goes right back to what I told you at the beginning to think about how it's all related. Just like people here are easily criminalized for interacting with the non-toxic aromatic plant. It's insane. Well, our friend Vera, right here, has been criminalized and marginalized in her own community for one reason and one reason alone, and that is her courage to go out and take photographic and gather anecdotal evidence and to gather scientific evidence regarding what the oil and gas industry is doing to Pennsylvania and at what cost this industry is destroying Pennsylvania. You're not going to hear that kind of investigativeness or truth from the media, who has every other advertisement brought to them by PP&L or Cabot Oil or a pharmaceutical interest or anything like that, because even the media is co-opted. But thankfully, to the internet and the times we live in, courageous people like Vera have been able to get this information out. And as a result, she's being punished and beat up. Her freedom of movement in her own community is restricted as though she's some kind of threat to someone. And the only threat she carries is the truth. Now listen, Vera and myself and Kurt and Jeff and a lot of people who stick our necks on the line, we're happy to do it. But do you know how strong we are when the power knows that you are standing with us? That you are not going to stand by silent and let this happen? That you are not going to let cannabis and hemp be persecuted and have that persecution extract to the citizen? because none of us are safe under those circumstances. And we need to educate ourselves and pull together. For anyone who's not registered to vote, there's voter registration forms down there. And listen, if you're going to register as another Republican or another Democrat, don't even bother, because there's no solutions there, and nobody's going to notice you blending in with millions and millions of other sheep. But if we start getting hundreds and then thousands in the Green Party and registering out of the parties, going independent and demanding more and saying we're not going to cooperate in your primary system, in your corporate oppression from us. When a Democrat hits us with a stick, it hurts just as much as when a Republican does. When we rise up and stop Republicans from hurting us in some way, Democrats are right there to do it. We're in a serious constitutional crisis right now. All of the freedoms we are guaranteed don't exist anymore because of laws that have made speech and truth and organization illegal, and it's wrong. And you're looking at Vera and I. We are not wealthy people. We are certainly not big people, but we are empowered and we are fearless, and we will go toe-to-toe with this beast, but we want you behind us. So register into the Green Party, Independent, Libertarian Party, and let's talk and let's change things now, change it forever. And without further ado, I want our brave and courageous and loving friend Vera to get her story out, so people start demanding that the mainstream media stand with this woman, that we investigate the corruption coming from the courts in allowing it to go this far. A real judge committed to justice would have exposed this bullying and bounced it out on its ear and sanctioned Cabot Oil and its agents for what they are doing to citizens in this community. And we're not going to change that either until we start standing with those who are willing to speak up for me, you, and the people who have no voice in this country today. Thank you very much. Vera Scroggins.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. I live in Susquehanna County, which is about 2 counties up north from here, and we've been very fully fracked since 2008. And just like cannabis is restricted and the people are punished who want to promote it, and the people are punished who want to use it and grow it, we are being punished, myself and others who speak up against the corporate takeover of our county, and not only our county, but about 20 or more counties in Pennsylvania besides the rest of the United States and the world. So they came into my county, and I've been documenting them since 2008, photographing, videotaping. I'm on YouTube, over 500 videos showing what they're doing to us next to our homes, on school property, on farms, and how they're drilling within 300 to 500 feet of homes. So we're being exposed. We now have 1,100 gas wells. We have 41 compressor stations, and that is only since 2008 in one county. And that puts out all kinds of emissions, toxic emissions, so that we're being poisoned, as well as being poisoned in so many other ways throughout our communities. This is industry run amok, and this is industry that has now carte blanche to do what it wants. So after about 5 years of showing the industry, taking people on tours, I do citizen gas tours. You're welcome to come on a tour anytime. Look me up, and I'll show you what's going on there. I've been doing this for legislators, people from all over the world, for citizens. New York closed its borders after seeing what we showed them next to our homes. And now Maryland is also closing their borders. They just voted, the 2 legislative bodies in Maryland, to have a moratorium on fracking. So by showing people and letting them see, and this is basically what I did, then the industry came after me about 1.5 years ago. This is Cabot, one of 7 companies. They're the largest company in our town, in our county. And they came and said to the judge, gave me 24 hours notice, come into court for a hearing, and I came in by myself because I couldn't get a lawyer, so I had to defend myself, and there was 4 Cabot lawyers, 12 witnesses, all employees of Cabot, and they charged me with all kinds of trespassing, say that I stepped on the property, I walked up the access road, their driveways, I talked to workers, and that I was a danger to them, to myself. They're not a danger, supposedly. They have about 600 DEP violations so far in our county. And then they proceeded to get all kinds of witnesses, and the judge gave an emergency temporary injunction, which means a restraining order. So I was not allowed to go anywhere, 40% of my county. I couldn't step on anybody's property for 5 months, which means my friends, businesses, I couldn't go to restaurants, a supermarket, the hospital in our town, anything that was leased to Cabot. And then eventually lawyers came forward. They heard about my case, and I had civil rights attorneys come forward from the ACLU, from Public Citizen in Washington, D.C., and other private attorneys, and they represented me for free. And then they were able to get the reduction in the injunction. So now I have to just stay 100 feet away from their driveways, Cabot driveways, and their developed sites, wherever their gas sites are. And if I go inside of there, then I'm under contempt. And then under contempt, then I can get jail, fines, and pay the court costs of the Cabot attorneys. So now, about in February, Cabot came forward and said, oh yeah, you committed contempt. They have a witness. So I had to be dragged to court. I have to go to court again Thursday. This is my 5th time. And they said, we have a witness. You stepped on their driveway on January 16th. So I said, well, I never did that. And I have witnesses to say that I didn't do that because I wouldn't dare step on your driveway after having an injunction. So they brought the witness in, a gas worker, who was willing to lie under oath and perjure himself and say, oh yeah, I saw her. She was on there. She put her car even on there. And they said, do you have any photographs? No. He has a cell phone. I parked my car 700 feet away in a private driveway that was legal. And he has a picture of me in that driveway, but not on the Cabot driveway. So the judge said I had 3 witnesses. He had just himself, and the judge took the word of the gas worker. So our judge, Judge Siemens, is basically pro-gas. He has 100 acres leased to the gas company. So he decides in favor, and this is what kind of justice we have. So once you get stuck in the justice system, so-called justice system, legal system, you will find that we have a very corrupt system, that it's not just as we were taught in school or as we read about. So you'll never know until you get into the system what kind of a system we have. So this is what's happening now. We're fighting fracking, we're exposing it, and we're doing it all over this state and also other states. And people are going to jail in New York. About 200 people went to jail this past year in New York, and they were dismissed. The charges were dismissed recently. So this Thursday, if you want to come to Montrose, Pennsylvania, to the county courthouse at 1:30, you can witness the legal system, and we'll see if he gives me a sentence, if he sentences me to a fines or jail. Otherwise, I said to them already, I'm not paying fines because I didn't do it, so then maybe I'll do jail. So this is the story. Come and witness and see what's happening in your own state. And then thank you for coming for cannabis, for legalizing cannabis. Thank you for coming for hemp. We need to grow hemp. It's the best product. It's a miracle food. And I have some here. I've been feeding people hemp flakes, hemp seeds, and I have hemp powder. I use it myself. The past year, someone gave me a whole bunch of hemp products, and I've been using it as my own dietary food. And it's excellent, tastes great, feels great. I even gave some to my 11-year-old granddaughter here, and she loves it. And I gave some to George Wesley's to his mom, to his sister, and they love it. So all the best, everybody. Legalize it, grow it, use it. It's healthy. Thank you. And ban fracking.
That's right. All right, thanks. Before we get into more serious talk, let me just say I appreciate the attendance and seeing so many here in support of this very strong and powerful cause. Considering how hastily this event was put together, this is amazing. And this is only the beginning. We will rise even farther above. And again, we'll do this together. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is cannabis itself and our natural rights. We have a right to breathe clean air and expect the water we drink to not only be free, but not part of private corporatization, but part of something that is guaranteed to every human being on this planet. Plain and simple. So we need to serve notice on Nestle that they don't have access to the People's Reservoir unfettered. This is insane, and this is crazy. And just as crazy is the fact that there are certain organic plants or raw milk that the government is calling illegal. We have a right to eat healthy, and part of a healthy diet includes a strong hemp element. Hemp is an amazing food that can provide safe alternatives to meat, for example. Kind of defeats the purpose of being a vegan when the substitute hamburgers you're eating is genetically modified soy that's treated with all kinds of Monsanto and Dow chemical pesticides. Actually, the plant is transformed to accept these chemicals and poison us. We need organic alternatives. Hemp, you could make everything from food, bread, pretzels, salad dressing, paste. You could make it with psychoactive cannabis. You could make it non-psychoactive with hemp, and it's still healthy. You could make animal food, pet food, oil. Imagine plastic that would still be recyclable, but if it wasn't recycled and it was left around, as it broke down, it's biodegradable and natural. We could make natural plastic from hemp without having to use petroleum-based toxic plastic that all of our food comes in. Wouldn't it be nice to have cans of beans lined with a substance that doesn't make the food toxic and incompatible with good health? So hemp can bring all of this. For textiles, as Kurt touched on, more than 50% of all the pesticides used in American agriculture are used on cotton alone. Hemp grows completely naturally, even in marginal soil, without need for fertilizers or pesticides. Its only known enemy is prohibition. Hemp is an amazing plant for farmers to utilize not only as a cash crop for various markets, whether it be the textile market or the food market or the plastics market or the fuel market, but it can also be a great erosion control strategy, and it can bring back land that is marginal and not suitable for farming or anything else. A hemp paper industry would be so needed. We have to stop cutting down trees to make paper. We could make paper with hemp, and 1 acre of hemp will give you the same amount of paper as 4 acres of trees. And with hemp, you could get 1 or 2 growing seasons and never have to chop down a tree. So using less land, not chopping down trees, and having very fine and suitable paper. And if you notice a theme here, these are all economic opportunities. We don't have to be the slaves to the Walmarts and the McDonald's and the gas industry and the industry of war and the industry of prison. We need to be entrepreneurs around cannabis, not criminals. This is wrong. We need to dismantle the police state and take our liberties back. And cannabis is the cornerstone method to do so. Looming in the background of this beautiful park here in Scranton is a hospital that is allowed to zap you with radiation. They are allowed to poison you with chemicals through your veins. They write prescriptions willy-nilly of all kinds of toxic substances, and yet in a country where they say we are free, we don't have the right to make the choice to use natural medicine like full plant cannabis to treat those conditions instead of being cut, burned, or poisoned. We don't even live in a country that is decent enough to allow most of its people reasonable access to those multi-trillion-dollar health care facilities. And we still don't have it. We simply have a system of subsidizing the problem, for-profit health care. We have to dismantle these bullies. Single-payer health insurance is another way, and it's why I say these issues are interconnected. You have a right to medicate how you want, naturally with cannabis, and we demand it, or if you want to use the healthcare industry for some or all of it, you should have a right to do so. You should have a right, the same kind of access that the wealthy and that Congress and that the president have. For as much as they inflict these complicated for-profit schemes on us as people, every congressperson, including the radical antisocial Tea Party types, all get 100% socialist medicine where they have a card in which one entity pays it. They walk into any damn hospital, any doctor they want, any pharmacy, don't have to jump through the hoops. They just get care. We need to do that in this country. But you know what? We need it a lot less if we have legal cannabis, and if we have healthy food, and if we have clean air to breathe and healthy water to drink. This area needs to rise up and not allow the gas industry to do to us what for 150 years the railroads and the mining companies did to us. They made rich profits on the blood and the death of the good people of northeastern Pennsylvania, and we can't sit by and let that happen again. We are the economic power. We are the workers. We are the consumers. We are the taxpayers. And if we don't get what we want, we don't pay. We are the voters, and we're not going to participate in sham elections where you get two choices of the same oppressive flavor. It's time to dismantle the police state. It's time to free the weed, and it's time to declare that we have a natural bill of human rights that says we can interact with plants, we can interact with the earth, we can save our rainwater and not be criminalized for it, and we don't want to be poisoned and have chemical companies have the only access to the regulatory agencies. We can turn this country around. And if you think it can happen, if you think this small group can't be where it starts, guess again. Because even in the most vexing terms of oppression, when it looks like hopeless, once you start getting that momentum of social change and people power together, no longer buying the propaganda, the bullshit, the divisiveness, social change will come fast and furious. It'll roll like thunder. That's how the Berlin Wall came down, and that's how the wall of cannabis prohibition and oppression can come down. Let's do it together. Register to vote. Let's hear your call. I'll stick my head in the mouth of this beast any day of the week. But I am only strong if you stand with me, my brothers and sisters. Let's stand together. Let's demand better. We're not going to get it from the politicians, so let's take it ourselves. And again, remember that justice is a demand, it is not a hope.